For more on this, we're now joined by Asia political risk analyst Ross Feingold from the Taiwanese capital, Taipei. Ross, it's good to see you. Now, China is now reeling back from easing its zero COVID policy, and it's causing a lot of anger among residents being forced to abide by these restrictions.
That's right. And they had been hoping to slowly emerge from that, especially after the recent party Congress, and try to maintain some good news flow politically from the perspective of the leadership. But they're not ready to depart from this zero COVID approach. So when there's a small outbreak of cases, especially in large municipalities, they are locking down neighborhoods or even entire cities and maintaining that approach. The information keeps coming out, so they're not able to lock down the information, and that's why we see so many videos and social media posts about this. And obviously, it's attracting an enormous amount of international attention. But notwithstanding protests or negative international media, they're still maintaining those policies.
Right, and much of the rest of the world has little to no COVID policies in place anymore. How long do you think China will continue to impose the zero COVID policy? It seems like it's going to be a never-ending cycle.
Well, we should be careful about predicting the decisions of the Chinese leadership, especially since it's not made in a manner that we see in Western countries. So they could make sudden decisions and select certain municipalities, large cities, and say that they're safe, and they could revert to a more flexible regime. But they might reimpose something just as quickly, and we've seen that within the past few days or weeks as cases increase. And an interesting thing about it is at the moment, at least, the authorities don't seem to prioritize the negative international media or the potential for domestic protests, nor do they prioritize the effect it might have on exports. And in this case, one of the more notable products being the iPhone. They're still prioritizing controlling the outbreak of cases. And even though they say a lot of the new cases are asymptomatic, they still want to prevent the spread of even asymptomatic cases. So that's also something quite interesting.
And what kind of an effect do you think the zero COVID policy is going to continue to have on the people there? Because we're already seeing them protest at this point in time. Do you think it can turn into something bigger?
There's always speculation about that, but this is not the first time there's been protests about COVID measures in the past. Soon it'll be 3 years that we've had COVID. And we also should keep in mind that even before COVID, protests over wage disputes or property disputes are actually common in China. And the authorities quickly will go in and try to resolve that. And if necessary, they'll detain people who are behind such protests. So the chances of this turning into something different are low. But I think one thing the authorities are probably very concerned about is, as quickly as they could remove stuff from social media, the possibility that people do travel overseas. And once they go overseas, that they do start to speak about their experiences in lockdown cities, that's just going to bring more embarrassment for the government.
All right, Asia political risk analyst Ross Feingold, thank you so much for joining us here on Tier 2 World.